huge. Um, and I can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
Well, we're so glad to see anybody who's going to have a positive result and is going to find some benefit from it, because that's why we do this, is really to help people who, you know, would be going to a regular doctor and getting treatment that they're going to have to continue on throughout life and have, you know, all of the problems associated with that. So we can avoid that by what we do.
Yeah. I mean, I've had that mindset most of my life, or at least my mom influenced me. My dad was diabetic. He had trouble with willpower, as I do, when it concerns food or nicotine. I've struggled with for over 20 years I chewed tobacco every waking moment, and often after I went to bed even. And then I gave that up in the late 90s. And then some years back I was in the Bahamas and we were renting gear to go snorkeling, and a guy asked if we liked cigars, and I enjoyed some Cuban cigars, and then I got hooked. And for the last 4 or 5 years, I was smoking about 5 or 6 cigars a day. And I quit that in early September, and I miss it, but I don't plan to return in order to have success with all that you guys have helped me with. And my grandsons were not happy with me.
That's good motivation.
Yes, I agree. We have 4 grandchildren that live next door to us on Syracuse Lake, and my oldest grandson that lives next door is 15, and then the other one I believe is 10, and then I have a 12-year-old granddaughter and a 6-year-old granddaughter.
Oh,
next door. We have 12 grandchildren total across the country.
Oh, wow. You're a blessed man.
Some of them happen to be Minnesota Viking fans.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see. I had my wife
get
a good shirt for me.
That's funny.
Man.
And then I'm wearing my Swamp People hat. I'm a big fan of Troy Landry. And then obviously from my looks, you can tell I've enjoyed the Duck Dynasty crew as well.
That's impressive.
Thanks.
I don't think I could grow mine like that. Maybe
I actually, for the first time in 4 years, I went to the barber and had my hair trimmed and my beard trimmed, and so far my wife and nobody else even realized it. So the lady did a good job of trimming the way I wanted.
That's funny.
You probably feel, well, yeah, because when my wife gets a haircut, I don't always recognize that, and I should. I get
so no, I can relate.
Yeah.
But so I don't know whether you guys want to interview me or if you want me to ramble on and kind of talk about what I chatted with you. And I haven't got to see all of the Zoom meetings, and to be honest with you, I haven't made it all the way through the diabetes reversal solution book. Mm-hmm. Me and my wife basically read through and digested phase 1, and I've been stuck in phase 1 and haven't read what to do next. And I don't know that I'm ready to get out of phase 1. I've been thinking about getting signed up with the Dial-A-Doc program, but and I've got some specific questions, but I'll wait and get that set up with Dr. Sanders. So, but again, I don't know. Do you want me to? Where do you want me to start my story, or do you want to ask me specific questions? Or
yeah, I think if you just tell us like what you shared on the webinar in the chat, and where you were and the journey, and where you are now and how we were able to help you.
Okay. and I will try to condense, otherwise I'll probably go too long.
That's okay.
In
We can always edit it later. So.
Okay. In 2006, I thought I had a flu bug. I run a construction company. Me and my wife started in October of 2002 here in northern Indiana. And at times we have 20 employees. But back in 06, we're building a nice house on Winona Lake in Warsaw, Indiana. And I thought I had the flu bug. And I just laid on the floor and tried to give the guys direction. I think we were installing a hardwood floor. Ultimately, went to the doctor and was surprised to realize that, or I kind of felt like an idiot, because I knew my dad was diabetic. But they tried to test my blood sugar and it was so high, nothing went that high. I don't know. I don't remember what 1600 or something like that. And so they put me on, I believe, gluburide and another pill. I don't think it was metformin. And then I chewed tobacco for 20 years, gave it up in the late 90s. But I used to drink a 12-pack of Mountain Dew every day. For years, I drove a delivery truck delivering ice, and the Pepsi guy and I had a deal. I give him a bag of ice and he'd give me a 12-pack of Mountain Dew. And so my chiropractor considers me an adrenaline junkie. Most of my life, I work 7 days a week. Often when I'm busy, I get by on 4 hours of sleep a night. And I thrive on making customers happy and providing my employees with work as much as they want. And thousands of people have this cell phone number and use it at any day or any time of day or night, and they're encouraged to. Like I said, I enjoy helping people and solving emergencies. I've got tons of stories. But anyway, so I was diagnosed with diabetes. It was super high. I went on a couple different pills. I cut Mountain Dew, or basically sugary drinks, out of my diet. And then all of a sudden I found my blood sugar dropping down to 40, and I was near blacking out. So I started cutting my pills in half, and finally the doctor said, well, stop taking the pills. And then I've went through different times in my life where I've had good discipline with my diet, and other times I've not, and slowly kind of slipped back into getting worse and worse and struggling with keeping my blood sugar down. And so often I was 200-300 when I would test my sugar. And really, I went for a number of years without testing my sugar. But I didn't realize the older I get, the more I struggled with having control with my diet and not having to take blood sugar meds. And so that kind of brings us up to basically a year ago. Me and my grandson and one of my friends' employees were out bow fishing here in northern Indiana, and I leaned out to get a shot at a fish, and my feet dropped down into a hole in the boat. There was a platform that was built up so you get a better shot at shooting a fish with your bow and arrow. It's a legal sport to shoot trash fish with a bow and arrow in Indiana. And but when I leaned out, my feet dropped down into a hole, and my feet got stuck, and I fell out of the boat with my feet stuck, and they kind of popped out of that hole. And we all laughed. I lost my headlamp. I broke my $400 bass fishing rod, and I missed the fish. But we continued to bow fish for the next 5 hours, and the temperature dropped, and I was soaking wet. we had fun. But then when we got back to the boat ramp, I could not stop shaking. I thought it was just the coldest I'd been in my life. And I could handle cold because I spent 10 years working at an ice company. I would work in my t-shirt and work so hard that sweat would build up on my back and there would be frost on the back of my shirt. And so I felt like I'd been tempered for life to handle cold, but I could not stop shaking. And in retrospect, I think I was near going into shock. But I was able to drive myself home. And then basically all summer long, I iced my foot down, and my wife would rub different essential oils into my foot, and I would elevate my foot at night when I was home before I'd go to bed. But the ankle was swelled up. I went to the medical doctor because I was struggling with the blood sugar last summer. Oftentimes it would be 600 or 700. And again, in retrospect, it was the infection in the foot that was causing or partially causing the elevated sugar readings, I believe. So we increased, I was taking Trulicity, the once a week shot that was $300 or so when President Trump had prices coming down for us. And I was taking 1,000 milligrams of metformin morning and night. Part of the time I was on Farxiga, and then we tried the pioglitazide medicine as well, and I was down into 200 and 300s by July and August. That I think the swelling started to come down in my ankle. And then I would work on my knees and I would use my toe to push up with. And it started hurting worse. And then I was doing some roof jobs. And I started wearing an air boot. And it caused a sore on the inside of my right ankle, which then got infected. And my chiropractor is very gifted. He helped me with wound care, and tried to, the first time he saw my ankle, he said, and I apologize, he said, "Oh shit," 3 times in a row. And I asked him to stop saying that. But he worked with us. But then in mid-September, again, the pain kept ramping up. I played football. I had sprained ankles. I ripped up tendon, there are ligaments in my knees, and you ice things, you strap your shoes on a little bit tighter, and you go to work. And that's what I did all summer. But then it got worse. Basically, I didn't know if I had COVID in mid-September, but I was at home in bed, kept getting weaker. I couldn't hold my food down. My wife would feed me during the day, and then all night I would throw up and have dry heaves.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah,
could you lift your phone up a little bit more?
I'm sorry.
That's
Oh, that's good. Now we can
great.
see you better.
That's better angle. Yeah, thank you.
So ultimately, I went to my medical doctor, and I had to ride the wheelchair because I'd gotten so weak I couldn't walk. I fell once at home. I think my forearm is still bruised, and this was back in September. And he asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital, and I hate medical doctors. I hate hospitals. I've tried to avoid them. I have never had health insurance on myself. I've played that game where I was trying to get by until I was 65, 66 and get on Medicare. But anyway, I said yes, and we went directly into the emergency room at the hospital. They got me on IVs. I started feeling much better. They x-rayed my ankle the next day. The orthopedic surgeon, great guy, I forget his name, came in and explained to me that for 5.5 months. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. For 5.5 months, I worked, walked, played on a shattered, dislocated ankle. And I guess because of some neuropathy, some of the pain had to have been masked by their opinion. Like I said, I've got a high threshold of pain through there's many other stories I could share. I nearly lost my life some years back from a brown recluse spider bite that turned into MRSA and spread around my body. In the same legs where it originated, 3 major wounds from necrotic tissue that I dug up myself. I went to the doctor then, and he said, well, you're doing fine. You're doing exactly what we would do, but it turned into MRSA. I had to squeeze pus out of my leg every hour from top to bottom. But and I kind of think that's why the surgeons cut my leg off as high as they did. Even I got to keep my knee, but the surgeon that came in that said, when I shattered it and dislocated it, it was so bad that it wasn't something they could fix. And amputation was my only option. Obviously, the diabetes didn't help the opportunity to heal or repair something. And, I didn't have insurance where I had 100,000 I could spend on them trying stuff to see if I would heal. So, and then I had watched my dad for years only let doctors whittle off a little bit of his feet at a time. And I'm not my dad, and medicine has changed, but at the same time, I wanted to make a decision and not look back. And I felt like I'm still convinced I made the right decision, and I don't regret. And I put all my faith in the Lord, and he took great care of me. My wife did an amazing job caring for me, even though I am and never will be a good patient or a backseat driver. And she did an amazing job. I was blessed with amazing doctors, surgeons, nurses. My physical therapist and occupational therapist are amazing people and good friends. The ones that stuck with me, and I texted her early today, they're just amazing people that built me, my heart and my mind. To go through this. And I can't thank them enough. Juliana and Tracy, and sorry, my wife's telling me to hold my phone up. And I've lost track. Okay, and then I work with SRT Prosthetic, the lady that makes my leg, or ladies, Emily and Julie, are amazing. So I've gotten the greatest people. My occupation, and hopefully their bosses won't see this, but the physical therapist and occupational therapist that worked with me, both of them were in a down period. Both of them were contemplating quitting what they have done for more than 10 years of their life. Things weren't going well. And then after they worked with me, I was able to change their lives as much as they changed mine. And they both are enthusiastic about continuing in their work.
which I'm glad because they're amazing. And I've developed a new friend. He's a fellow amputee of 5 years. He works with SRT prosthetics and developing a great relationship. My prosthetist didn't even want to hear me talk about motorcycling or jet skiing. And word got around to this Mark White, who I'd never met, the amputee liaison for SRT. And he calls me the next day, and about the second sentence he said is, "Don't sell your motorcycle." And I'm actually purchasing a motorcycle for the first time since 1984. Basically now anything that I think, well, I'm not sure if I can do that, I'm going to try just as hard as I can to do it and to live life to the fullest. Another guy to mention, God brought me he's a volunteer pastor in the hospital I stayed at in Goshen, Indiana. He and I grew to be great friends. Did I lose you? Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
He and I have grown to be great friends. We text each other often. And he came and spent time with me every day in the hospital. I had many churches praying for me. When my mom passed a year ago, and had developed a strong relationship with her pastor. He's from Ukraine, I believe. And I wanted him with me, along with my wife and my daughter and son-in-law that live next door. And they all prayed with me as I entered the operating room, which was a huge comfort. You know, the miracle I wanted was to wake up the morning before the surgery and hear God healed and restored my foot. It was the miracle I had been praying for, but that didn't happen. And so the miracle, I still claim it as a miracle because I've had such great people that take care of me. And I can take this story and help other people is my goal in life. And I've had many great opportunities just in the last 6 months to do that. I got my process. So I was in a wheelchair for 2 months, which it was a struggle to be patient with those around me because I'm not used to depending on anybody. I've basically been independent since I was like 16 years old. Not that my dad didn't want to take care of me. I chose not to. But obviously have pushed as hard as I can to get from, even when I was in the wheelchair, I'm hopping around on one leg, throwing my wheelchair in the back of my truck, and then hopping to the front and then using my left foot to drive my truck. I was sneaking out of the nursing home and using my Polaris Ranger that I could hop up into easily with one leg, just so I could get to work, so that I could keep my employees paid and take care of my customers. But I've pushed as hard as I can to get strong. When I laid in the hospital, I laid in the nursing home. It's amazing how much muscle you lose. And because I'd been smoking cigars, my aerobics hadn't been good. I was an MVP on my senior year in football, voted by my teammates. But at 57 years old, I had not kept up on staying in shape. And so I joined a gym a few weeks ago. My 15-year-old grandson often goes with me to work out. My chiropractor has been worried about my quad on my residual limb. And so my physical therapist has me doing leg presses just with that leg, high repetition. I go to my chiropractor once a week and get acupuncture on both legs. For the longest time, he'd have to pop my right knee back into place. but now I'm building that quad, and he's not needing to pop that back in. I had neuropathy in my good leg, and I can't think of the word, edema in that leg. It wasn't healthy, but with you guys' help, using your supplements and listening to your Zoom meetings as often as I can, and gaining as much knowledge as I can and applying that to my life. I still haven't got the 6 to 10 thing. I'm used to working past midnight, go home and work or sleep for 4 hours, and then go back and start it over. But I'm moving towards that end, and I no longer wake up 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I sleep all night, and in the morning, kind of a little bit of a hurry at times to get my leg on to make it to the bathroom, but that's much better. And I think I'm leaving out. So I'm gaining strength. I'm still not where I want to be. I'm losing the fat. I still got a ways to go. So tomorrow I get my second vaccine shot. I went that route, Dr. Sanders. I agree with your comments, but me being diabetic, and I think the wrong blood type, and then wanting to protect those around me, I opted to get the COVID vaccine as quick as I can. A week from today, I go on my first vacation since my mom died 2 years ago. I'll be going. I can send you guys pictures now. I got your phone number, but hopefully, I'm a saltwater fisherman. I've caught many sharks. My best one was a tiger shark that was over 10 foot. The last fish I caught in Florida was a 500-pound Goliath grouper. And it's the last time I went, my grandson caught 2 sharks, and my 4-year-old granddaughter, her first fish that she reeled in was a small shark, which is my picture on my phone still. But tomorrow I get my second COVID shot, so I'm going to be good to go, and I'm going to start traveling. And then on Friday, I get my waterproof foot for jet skiing, kayaking, wading into the water to fish, even though it's been our practice. Sharks don't like us, and a bull shark will come within 12 inches of water to bite you, not because it's hungry, but just because it has that temperament. But still, I'm going to have a foot that I can do those things with, and not have to carry a chair around with me to take a shower. If I choose to, I can step into the shower with my waterproof leg, and then when I get done, clean my leg with taking the thing off. But it gives me more independence. We're calling it my sea leg.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Sanders said we were on mute, but he said if the shark does bite your leg, we're hoping it's the artificial one.
Yeah. And my grandson, he goes with me to the gym, and he acts like he doesn't know me, and then he tells the others in the gym that I'm a legend. I'm the guy that the shark took my foot. When the doctors, you have to sign off on your foot. They can't just dispose of it. There are some religions that would want to keep that and then bury it with you. And I'm not that. But I did want to save it for shark bait, because I think it would have made excellent shark bait. My best friend from high school, when we texted back and forth, and I had to tell him the news, I told him that I planned to have them save my big toe for him.
Oh my goodness.
Chris told me on text messaging that you were a boring guy.
Yeah.
Well, I am an introvert. I hate speaking. I had butterflies especially that 20 minutes leading up to it. And I thought, well, at least I'm only talking to Mr. Barton. I'm not talking to the star of the show, Leslie.
Oh,
I didn't feel like I needed to be quite as nervous because I thought you were in a different state. So unless you're doing something crazy with the video, I assume you're all in the same room.
Yeah,
We're all
we're having
together.
a company retreat in Utah.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
one. I've motorcycled in over 40 states, but I didn't make it to Utah yet.
Oh, it's a beautiful state.
Yeah, in South Dakota's, I've been there. That's where you're
Yeah.
from.
Jill and I both
Okay.
are.
Yep.
And I enjoy that state. I like your governor.
Yeah.
We hope she runs for president.
Yes, I would vote for her. So the toughest thing for me, guys, or one of the toughest things, I wanted to be, sorry, I wanted to be the one to break it to my grandchildren, for them to hear from their papa what was going to happen before it happened. And I wanted them to know that it wasn't because I smoked cigars. It was an accident. I fell out of the boat. And it was something I did. I chose to be in that boat, and I feel like I was unstable because I think my sugar was high. I had some neuropathy, and balancing yourself and using a bow and arrow to try to hit a carp down on the bottom of the lake was a challenge for me because of my physical state. But I wanted them to hear from me what was going to happen. And it was hard, but it was the right thing to do. And I wanted to be strong for my guys. We're kind of a mom and pop thing, but my guys depend on me here at the business and throughout the thing. I wanted and felt like I did a pretty good job of letting them know that I was going to be okay. I was going to be strong. This was something that wasn't going to stop me. A couple other things. I don't know. You can shut me off when you want, but when I was in my 20s, I looked at old people and I didn't want to be old. I wanted to work hard, play hard, and spend my money as a young man and not get old. That's why, I've always had a motorcycle, and I always thought if things got bad, I never wear a helmet. I just drive as fast as I can and don't become an old man. But then when you get in your 40s and get grandchildren around, you change your mind. And then my wife is a little older than I am, and she's smoking hot. And you realize you'd like to enjoy her as long as you can. And until my accident and surgery, my goal had moved from being spent as a 40-year-old to likely I might make it into my 60s because my grandmother died at 58. And so I've already surpassed her. And then my dad, he lost his health. My dad died. So his diabetes had him, and he was under stress. His business was failing. He had people that went behind his back and lied to a judge and forced him into involuntary bankruptcy when he was in his late 40s. And he lost his health. I went to his home, and he was smaller than me, but he was a decent sized man. That's my mom and dad. That's something my grandson made for my dad when my dad went to the hospital. And then he was in intensive care for 5 weeks. But dad died. He had got down to 100 pounds. His electrolytes were messed up. I scooped him up in my arms and I put him in the back of my Chevy Blazer. He didn't like hospitals either or doctors. No offense, Dr. Sanders. His paternal father got sick, went in the hospital, fell in love with a nurse when my dad was 11 years old. And then forced my grandmother to do an annulment. And if she didn't do the annulment so that he could marry the nurse in the Catholic Church, he was going to kill my dad's youngest brother. So that's part of the reason my dad had an aversion to hospitals. But I scooped him up, took him to LaGrange Hospital. They took him in, put him on a gurney, and wheeled him back, and he died. He had an out-of-body experience where he was hovering over his body, watching the doctors and nurses working on his body. And mind you, from the time I was 20 and up, I didn't like my dad, which I didn't know why. Everybody else liked him but me. But he died that day, and God showed him the faces of, I forget, it was 5 or 6 businessmen from our hometown here in Syracuse, Indiana. And God asked him if he would go and witness to these men. And dad, the faces flipped towards him as if they were on a round plate, is how he described it. And dad said yes. And then boom, next thing he knew, he was back in his body. And then he lived another 20 years. And then in those 20 years, I thought, everybody else liked my dad but me. And so I focused on something about my dad that I could like. And then he grew to be my best friend. With technology, that we texted each other almost every day. I might have to plug this in, guys. I don't know if that'll mess things up. And so we grew to be good friends, talked almost every day. Dad got sick, went in the hospital, was in intensive care for 5 weeks. The doctors wanted to push him out of there. And I told the doctors that, to me, they were giving up on him. So I said, well, why don't we just shove a pillow over his head, which offended the doctor. And, but it got what I wanted, which was their best care and to keeping him in intensive care and try to save him. But he couldn't talk when he was in there. They had to keep him on oxygen, tubes down his throat. The last time I saw my dad, he was having a good day. The nurse came in and pulled those tubes out. And my dad's vision was horrible. He had bad stigmatism, but he was able to see my grandson's picture that I showed you from clear across the room, and he was able to read the doctor's notes. And I thought, wow, my dad's going to be okay. Because he was doing this without his glasses. And but what I didn't realize is God was beginning to give him his heavenly body, and his vision was being restored in preparation of leaving. So the next day I didn't get up at 4 a.m. to go see him at the South Bend Hospital and then go to work. I opted to let my sister go because her and my dad needed to talk and solve things between them. And then the following day, Dad was having a rough time, and he nodded to my mom that it was okay for the doctors to pull the plug. And I never realized what it's like to not have a father. And I felt so lucky to spend most of my life with a father, and I have great compassion for young men who don't have a father at a young age. Uh, so I don't know where that gets us. I still got more. My mom died a year ago. She was actually texting me a funny story. We texted every night after Dad left for 10 years. And she had composed a text to me. I didn't get it, which wasn't unnormal. Sometimes she would text me that night or she'd go to bed, but I didn't get a text from her on a Thursday night. And then Friday got the call that they had found her and she was gone. And it looked like she had just leaned back in bed and she was gone. And the phone was next to her, and I checked her phone when I got up there, and it had the funny story, but she didn't get to hit love you or night love you the way she typically did, and she didn't get to hit send. So I did that after she passed. But while we were at the nursing or the funeral home that afternoon, making sure that her body was okay, we got a call that my then 4-year-old granddaughter was at a campground in Michigan and had been run over by a 1-ton truck. My daughter witnessed it. Truck just like mine. The front tire went straight up her back, ran right over her head. Rear tires went right up her back, right over her head. And we got the call, and I didn't know whether she was dead or alive. They took her to Grand Rapids Children's Hospital, and there were no head trauma, no broken bones. It squeezed the urine out of her, but she had no internal bleeding. It was almost more stress than I could handle, losing my mother, and then almost. And I like to think that Mom left early to make sure that God was there to protect my granddaughter. My daughter and son-in-law are both Christians, and some days later, they asked God, "Where were you?" And my daughter felt like God spoke to her and said, "I was holding your head." And later, my daughter Krista asked my granddaughter Lily during the accident, "Did you see God?" And Lily said, "Well, no, God's invisible." And so Krista asked, "Did you feel God?" And Lily didn't say anything. She just put her hands up to her head. That she felt God during the accident hold her head. A couple days later, Krista sent us a picture, and it was Lily's shirt that she was wearing during the accident. And sure enough, there's a black tire print that's just straight up her back, went over top of her. So I've never loved the Lord more than knowing that He saved my granddaughter. But my mom and dad passed, and the businesses that they created, my dad, like I said, was forced into an involuntary bankruptcy. He was a millionaire and then was left with 20,000. He moved to Michigan to start a church with a friend of his in Middlebury, Indiana, to help Amish youth. But he bought a house that had 20 youth start units on it. And then by the time Mom passed, that business grew to over 800 units in 3 different communities. And the income that me, my brother, sister, and a longtime employee, what I get from that is what has paid for my medical bills. And the gift that, my dad on his deathbed, the last time I spoke with him, he apologized to me for what others did to him in stealing. He was a a multimillionaire, and they lied to a judge and took all but 20,000 away from him. And the thing that he's telling me on his deathbed, and he's crying to me on his last breaths, that I got to hear from him, was him apologizing to me for that happening. And I felt horrible that he felt like he needed to say that. And now his hard work and he and mom's gift is what has allowed me to be a productive part of society, and has bought my primary foot. And we just finished my personal taxes, and this cost, I paid out $70,000 in 2020, and it's all paid for. And I've already paid for my water foot in 2021, and I want to get another foot later this year that I can run, and maybe I can dunk a basketball over top of my 16-year-old grandson. Are my dreams and goals, or I might not be able to dunk a basketball, but in my youth I used to dunk a tennis ball. But what I do hope is to beat him in 9 holes of golf. So since I've got my foot, 7 days later I walked out into the woods and went deer hunting. A close friend took me out waterfowl hunting in a boat. I rode my snowmobile multiple times over 100 miles an hour on the trails here in Indiana. And then a couple of weeks ago, I walked 9 holes with my grandchildren golfing. And now my new dream, instead of living into my 60s, I'm convinced I'm going to live into my 80s and maybe my late 80s. And that was what I sent that text to my grandson, which was a joke. I realize he enjoys me more than anything. His second word out of his mouth when he was 1 year old was Papa, and that changed my life. But that was when I told him, good news is my blood pressure's down. So I'm off. All I'm taking is 1 metformin a day, and I'm off all my blood pressure meds except for Lasortin, taking 1 of those a day. But that was what I had chatted with you guys. Good news is, to my grandson, my health has improved. The bad news is I'm probably going to live long enough that I'm going to spend most of your inheritance.
Which is, I remember that.
I love
good.
that.
So I think I tied everything together. My mom and dad's gift to me, some of the major things that have contributed to who I am and who I want to be and continue to be, and help others as much as I can. And I'm more than willing to, if you guys ever have anything special that you think I can help with, or somebody that needs encouragement, but what I would assume your toughest challenge that you've been successful with me is that when people see you, they wonder whether you're real and whether you are genuine and whether you are just trying to make as much money as you can and you don't care. And you guys have convinced me that you care and that you are doing this to help the rest of us. And I would assume many other people too. I've seen you guys enough to know that you are good people and doing something amazing. It's, and I apologize that I was skeptical at first. My mom cared for my dad and kept him alive and kept his feet for a long time by doctoring him. And in the back of my head, when I was getting introduced to you guys, Mom always said that she thinks that there's something out there that can reverse the diabetes, that it's not hereditary, and I kind of clung to that. My dad did not have good willpower, And the young man that cared for my dad and pushed him around in the wheelchair, you know, I asked him just a week ago whether dad cheated on his diet. He said yes. He couldn't resist pancakes. And dad's the one that we would go grocery shopping on Saturdays to go buy all the food that mom would buy in our youth, and taught me to take the little honey bear full of honey and tip it up and squirt it directly in my mouth. I lost track. But if there's anything I can do, like I said, you guys are real. You're helping people. The reason I was skeptical, I mean, can you imagine a guy named Noel calling you, and you don't have some amount of skepticism? But he did a great job. He convinced me to, and I've tried all of your products. I ordered some more of the Niagara XL this week. I'd only bought one bottle just to see, and I'm optimistic that it's gonna continue to help. And just so I'm taking, I guess I'm taking almost everything that you guys sell. I started with the iodine, and like I said, they're great. They're amazing. I've got quite a surplus in stock, but I will keep using. And so I had never broken. I test my sugar nightly before supper, and basically since I have been on your program, most of the time it's been below 150. At first, when I came home from the hospital, it was 200 and 300. I was having a little bit of trouble, and mainly I noticed that stress is huge for me. It pushes my blood pressure and my blood sugar up, and so I've gotten rid of a few employees that were good at affecting my stress level, and then I'm trying to do a better job of not keeping stuff inside and letting it mess with my stress. And obviously I'm trying to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night now instead of going with the 4 hours. And basically for the last 14 years, on Saturday afternoon, we get the grandchildren. Originally it was 1, and now it's 4 that live near us. And then we hand them back to mom and dad at church on Sunday morning. And so that's kind of my Sabbath, is Saturday afternoon to Sunday midday. And then I go back to work. So on Friday, we celebrated my birthday. I turned 58 on Sunday. We ate out, which has been rare between COVID and my drive for controlling my diet. But we ate out. And so I didn't exercise Friday. Saturday, me and my grandson worked on stuff around the house. I didn't exercise. I was getting ready to check my sugar Saturday night, and I thought, okay, this is probably going to be high, because I deviated from my diet a little bit on Friday and didn't exercise. And for the first time, I got below triple digits. I was 94. And I'd been so wanting to break into the double digits. And then Sunday, I was 108. And then last night, I was back at 94. And so I plan to stay in phase 1, even though I feel like my metabolism has changed in the last week and a half. I feel like I broke through. I get hungry quicker. I'm trying to live by the breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, supper like a pauper. Mm-hmm. Whereas most of my life, it's been the reverse. No breakfast, lunch if I can, but usually I'm on a dead run. And then about 10, 11 o'clock at night, I eat a huge supper, and then I snack until I actually do go to bed. So I've changed that considerably. I see a benefit to it. And so I am trying to do the high fiber, low carb, no fruits, all that stuff. And I guess I'll stay on that a while. Like I said, I'm leaning towards prescribing to the dial a doc, and then I can quiz him on how to go as you know,
Sounds like you're doing great.
thanks, Doc. Again,
What
thanks
an
for your help.
amazing story.
Now, do I get a free T-shirt out of this deal or no? And then I'll need Leslie to sign it.
Yeah.
We
You-
can do that. What
you
size
ha-
do you wear?
I went through quite a few Kleenexes listening to
I
your
thought I have trouble looking at you guys when I'm talking, and I hope your camera's not so good because I've had a runny nose through most of this.
Oh, no. You're
It's
good.
allergies. It's gotta be allergies, right?
No, I don't get allergies, knock on wood. But yeah. So that, like I said, I could keep going with stories. I got tons of them. I rustled a deer one time on a state highway where cars were slamming their brakes, sliding sideways to keep from hitting me. I was a young, strong man. My arms were huge back in the day. I'm trying to get right now. My 15-year-old grandson can out bench me, and it drives me nuts. But I was on my way to defensive drivers training. I had my dad's LTD back in the 70s. A deer was laying alongside the road. I thought it was near dead. I thought, well, I can just grab it by the horns and snap its neck. And then all of a sudden it jumped up. It only had one bad leg, and I didn't want to let go. So I hung on. Otherwise, I thought it would gore me. And like I said, cars are slamming on their brakes, trying to keep from hitting me on a state highway. And finally, I wrestled it off the road. And by then, the guy that had hit it had went to town, and the sheriff was there. And I held it down with ended its life, and got powder burns on my hands, and I was covered with blood and deer poop, and I missed my driver's training class, and so I had to redo the whole course.
Oh,
Oh.
I got tons of them.
Hey,
That is
tell
funny.
us again what your business is now.
We basically, my business is I try to find good customers and do whatever they want, and find good employees and pay them as much as I can has been my goal. My goal hasn't been to see how much money I can make. Otherwise, I would have gotten bored with this a long time ago. But me and my wife started White Oaks Construction in October of 2002, got incorporated in Northern Indiana, and grew our business. And I'm not looking for new customers or new work because I feel like we're booked out into 2023 right now. And I'm probably going to need to add some employees just to try to stay up with the jobs that I've already got sold. And then so I've got this business here. And the guys did amazing when I was in the hospital and nursing home. And then I'm the oldest son, and so I manage my mom and dad's business and the employees there and get them. So I drive to Michigan every week to get paychecks up there and check on things and manage those. But basically, we are in construction for the most part, residential, build houses. We do some commercial work. Through the years, I grew to be great friends with the Grossnickel family. They have an eye center in Warsaw, Indiana. They're world-renowned eye surgeons, and they've been great friends and customers, and have helped me through life. And we've got work there now waiting on us. And people would go to the Mayo Clinic with eye trouble, and they would say, well, no, we can't do that. You need to go to the Grossnickels in Warsaw, Indiana. Out my window here at the shop, I can see Dr. Parent's home that we've had something to do with the LASIK machine, and also friends with Dr. Grossnickel. We used to go to their places on Sanibel Island in Florida when Hurricane Charlie hit. They couldn't find anybody down there to do our kind of work. And so me and my wife went down there, and she worked very hard the whole week we were there. And I did kind of work pretty hard and put their home back to the way that it was. And then for years, whenever they weren't home, we were invited to stay there, free lodging. And I would usually try to find repairs to make. And then he retired 2 years ago, and I lost my free lodging on Sanibel Island. And so we are paying a good chunk of money, me and my daughter, to rent a place on Captiva Island for a week, the first full week of April, in order to do my saltwater fishing.
Yeah, where do you do the saltwater fishing?
The Sanibel, Fort Myers area in
Okay.
Florida.
Yeah.
I have great fishing buddies down there and a great network of friends, and there's lots of stories there. I caught a sawtooth shark. What's
my
that?
my son is 11. His goal was to fish in the ocean. So we
Yeah.
were in Anna Marie Island
Yeah,
about a month ago, and he went to Bradenton Beach. He
yeah.
got talking with a bunch of the locals, and they took him out to the pier, and he caught, I don't even know what he got actually, but it was the best trip ever.
Well, the fish down there are hungry. It's not like trying to get a bass to take your bait here in Indiana.
Yeah.
And you got to watch what you're doing. If you do something wrong, it's 5 years in jail, no questions asked. And the
Wow.
rules down there change all the time. That's why I've never paid for a guide, but I fished with the locals, and then you got a better chance at not doing something stupid. Like the 500-pound Goliath grouper, I was by myself on the pier. It's kind of a ritual with me. My last day there, I go to that pier. That's where I caught my first shark and befriended my first shark fisherman. Who I lost some of them this year to COVID. I lost one of them to a heart attack 2 years ago. And so initially, after he passed, the first time I was there, I purchased a cigar that was called the Shark, and I smoked it and thought of him, and I stood on his corner of the pier to show honor to John
Wow.
for teaching me to shark fish. And then, every time that I fished there, the last night I go there and dump out all my dead, nasty shark bait, and I clean my fishing poles with fresh water. But I had one line out, 11 o'clock at night. I'm by myself, but there's some other guys on the pier that I don't know. They're strangers. And my rod goes off. And then 40 minutes later, I've got this fish up against the dock. And one of the kids on the pier that sees it, he's screaming, and they're using curse words. So I won't send you that video. But they squeal and say it's as big as a VW. And the fish, and so I cut it loose because the Goliath groupers are protected. You know, you want to pull it to shore and get your picture taken with it. But if I would have done that, 5 years in jail, no questions asked, because I cut the fish loose. It laid there for 5 minutes because I had wore him out, I assume, and then the camera had shown the local fish warden, the activity, and they walked on the pier just soon after the fish took off. And if I would have pulled it to shore to get my picture, I would still be in jail, and you guys wouldn't know me. And then I went to the 7-Eleven and bought a couple Gatorades and sat for over an hour to recover.
Wow.
And so that was one of my first questions when I woke up from the surgery, the man there that was taking my blood, God sent him too, because his closest friend was a double amputee. And so it's like 5 a.m, and I just woke up, and it's my first experience without having what God gave me below my right knee. And he said, "Hey, it's going to be okay. My friend's a double amputee, and it's not that big a deal." And that helped me immensely. Like I said, I really have not had a down time, because I have people, when they find out, they drive straight to my house and they come in my house, and they are they are in tears because they assume I'm laying around and I am depressed and they are so shook up. Or I've had some close friends that I talked to long after the operation, and I text them. I said, "Hey, I needed to talk to them about something else." And I say, "Hey, by the way, did you hear about my accident?" And they say, one of my favorite all-time employees ever, I can't remember his comment exactly, but basically, he felt, I can't remember what Joy said. He knew about it, but he was being selfish. He felt he was being selfish and didn't want to deal with it by communicating with me. But like I said, I've had people in tears show up at my house, all shook up, assume that I'm laying around and I'm sad and depressed, and they see that I'm happy, that I love the Lord, and that I am in good shape and I am headed good places, and then they leave my house happy. That's happened more than once.
So if you could say something to somebody that was in a tough spot and maybe facing amputation or just had it, what would you tell them?
I should have been introduced to you guys a long time ago, or listened to my mom. But it's hard to not be an idiot until something happens. But to me, you put your trust in the Lord and you find good people and put your trust in them. And don't look back. Make a decision. Trust in the Lord. Make a decision. Have good people help you, and never look back. I've had a few occasions, and just in the last few weeks, where I've begun to think, "What if?" And it's not a good place to go. There's nothing good that can happen from that. Uh, you make a decision. You accept it. Uh, and I'm going to disagree. It is a big deal. I'm glad the guy told me the way that he told me, and I hope to see him again. When COVID's over, I want to go back to my hospital and thank my nurses that took such great care of me. I've been able to thank the people at the nursing home, but I haven't been able to. And I communicate with my pastor that works in that hospital, but I haven't. There's a male nurse, Chris, that just did an amazing job taking care of me. So thankful for that. 3 of our 5 daughters are registered nurses. 2 of them have helped with COVID patients. But I got sidetracked. But the bottom line is, it's going to be okay. There's really nothing that I can't do. I can't wiggle my toes and I can't bend my ankle, but I can ride a jet ski. I can ride a motorcycle. I can work on a roof. I can get strong, and I can pick up the back of my snowmobile and move it around in the back of my trailer. I can, when I first got my prosthetic, my jet skis were neglected. They were full of water and they were on a 2-place trailer, and I needed to get the water out because it was going to freeze up and they were going to bust and ruin my jet skis. And so I grabbed the front of my trailer and I picked it up in the air above my shoulders and dumped the water out of the back of it my stitches were still pretty fresh in my cup in my leg. I felt like my little bone was going to pop off the side of my fibula, but I did it. And so there isn't anything that you can do that you can't. There isn't anything you can't do. And there's no sense. The thing that shocked me was when my physical therapist shared with me that some people have this happen and they choose to sit in a wheelchair the rest of their life. I can't even imagine that. And if I can help one of those people get out of that chair and enjoy life, enjoy playing golf with their grandsons or shooting baskets with them, that's what I'm here for. That's what, I have pain every day. The pain that I was able to block out of my head for 5.5 months by working on roofs and walking with my ankle and playing golf with my grandsons is my phantom pain. I can feel my wound. I can feel the pain in the arch of my ankle that I don't have anymore. It's getting better. It's going away. The edema and the neuropathy, with you guys' help, is going down in my good leg, and it's going to be gone eventually. When I snowmobiled, I didn't have the proper gloves on, and I burnt my hands. I let them get so cold that I always think I'm tougher and I can handle it, and I don't want to end a good time and make my son-in-law and grandson stop snowmobiling because Papa's hands are cold. And then I think I'd burn them, Doc. I'm not for sure, but they're coming back. And it's been tough sitting in the wheelchair and you're shorter than everybody was hard. The first time I got to stand up and I towered over my physical therapist, I enjoyed commenting on how short she was. I've enjoyed being a large, strong man and enjoyed pleasing my wife. And with all the medications and my health deteriorating the last couple of years, I have not been the man that I was in being intimate with my wife. And with you guys' help and dropping the medications, all that is improving. And I'm still, and I'm thankful because I worried that I would lose her in that. That's what went through my head. If that's not motivation for a diabetic man, I don't know what else would be, because it's fun to feel like a man and be strong and take care of your wife. One of my employees is diabetic. He's a little bit younger than me. He's got issues. He takes 4 different blood sugar medications. He can't maintain a relationship with a woman. And we're working at Gross Nickel Eye Center when the patients aren't there, and we work together on Sunday afternoon there. So I'm a strong believer in recognizing the Sabbath. But even my dad, in the ice business, you have to work when it's hot. And I would work until midnight Saturday night. He would make me quit and go home. But then it was okay for me to come in at midnight on Sunday night and start working again, when I would have rather worked a few hours on Sunday afternoon. But and I haven't been to church but once since COVID. Now that I get my second vaccine, I'm going to go. But I have watched online every Sunday as best I can, and then I've gotten back into devotions, and my former pastor that I really enjoy and miss his church. He's got a daily devotion at 6:00 in the morning. He was a professional football player, amazing man. But dang, I lost track. I'm getting old. The other amazing thing, guys, is your medications have helped clarity in my mind. I used to have amazing memory. It'd been slipping. And, whenever I've dealt with my dad's death or mom's death, I get extremely funny. With my dad's death, we were having too many pallbearers, and I suggested, well, they can all carry the casket and I'll just ride on top. And then the first time that Mom showed me the gravesite where we were going to bury Dad, it was right next to a farmer's field. And I told Mom, I said, what happens if that farmer plowing that field falls asleep and just comes right through here? I found it funny, but not everybody would. But anyway, so my coworker, my employee, longtime friend, has worked for me for more than 10 years off and on. He spent 5 years trying to help people with drug and alcohol addiction. But now he's back. That kind of burned him up. But he comes strolling in drinking a milkshake. I said, one of these days you got to start feeding yourself and realizing that you're a diabetic. Because I just see his face or his health is going to continue to fail. You guys kind of screwed up, or I screwed up, and you sent me 2 of the diabetes reversal kit books. And on Sunday, while he's still hanging on to his chocolate milkshake, I handed him that book. And I pray that I will have influence in his life, because if he doesn't make a change, and they're just going to keep ramping up his meds until he gets to wear one of these on his foot. And I don't know that everybody is going to fare as well as me in all this. But anyway, so that's, again, my dream and goal is to help people. And if there's anything I can do to facilitate, to help you guys, to help people, I want to. Sorry, my nose is.
That's all right.
But yeah, strong improvement. Noel tried to call me, I don't know, on his 3-month whatever, and I wasn't able to pick up. Like I said, I got a lot of customers, a lot of employees, and getting to talk to me on the phone is difficult. I spend a lot of time texting because I can't stop what I'm doing and pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
I'm hoping you guys have got, and maybe I'm looking at Joe, but the other thing on the wish list is this bald spot on the top of my head to fill in.
Yeah, it looks pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel for you.
But I grew this beard and hair because I got kind of back into hunting, fishing, and trapping. It kind of went with it, and then it was kind of I was getting too many customers, and it was kind of a deterrent to try to scare some people off. And then it grew to be, there's a lot of people that only know me with all this stuff. And then 2 weeks ago, Sunday, I'm out setting up. My grandson hopes to be a varsity quarterback this season as a sophomore.
Oh, cool.
At the high school where I was a MVP and his dad was a running back. But 4 ladies go by. We have a bike path right in front of our house, and they've got 2 dogs, and they're pushing 2 strollers. And they're kind of cute ladies, and they say hi, and I say hi. And then they get a few more steps past me, and I hear a high squeaky voice that says, "Hi, Santa." And so one of the 2 or 3-year-olds in the stroller said, "Hi, Santa." And and I get that quite often. Or so, if I walk into a restaurant, it's Chewbacca or Grizzly Adams. And so I do enjoy.
No great jokes, huh?
Yeah, and it's kind of scaring people a little bit. It's kind of fun too.
Phil Robertson, he'd be proud.
Yeah, there you
go.
Yule Gibbons was the strange one. I didn't get that one.
Chris, it's been
for your time.
Yeah, it's been an honor to meet you and share this time with you.
I'm honored to spend time with you guys, and again, I extremely indebted and humbled and amazed at what you guys do and what your products do, and all the people that you help. and enjoy very much this opportunity to develop a relationship and a friendship, and the opportunity that you guys, if there's anything you think I can do, reach out, and I will try to do whatever I can.
Well, I appreciate that. And if we could get your permission, so my son is right here. Hi, Sad.
Hi there.
He's our video editor, but if we get your permission, we'd like to,
Yes,
you know, turn this into something that we can share with people, because our mission is
Same as yours. Help as many people as possible.
yeah, delivering hope and healing. And
yes.
you're an
No,
amazing.
you have permission to do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be good for you to even have a copy of it just for yourself, because
Well, there's already,
a gift to pass on and give to others in your
and
family.
that's part of the reason I shared some of this stuff was for that. And that there's always been already been requests made, and I joked with my physical therapist. I had met somebody she knew, and I texted her. I said, "Hey, I met another member of the Juliana Sherman fan club." And so tonight, when I told her we were doing this tonight, she commented that she's a member of the Chris Bornman fan club. And she definitely wants to see this video.
Oh, good. Well, we're recording it, and yeah, we'd love to put it out on YouTube and share it, because like, yeah, our mission is delivering hope and healing, and that's your mission. And like, man, your story, I gotta say, it's like the most inspiring I've heard yet. And we'll have to warn people to get a few of these Kleenex packets ready to go when they watch it.
For sure.
But thank you for sharing so much and being vulnerable, and like, and I would just say, like, the pain that you've gone through, like, wow, like that's gonna help so many people, you know.
I mean, it continues to, the phantom pain. I'm still taking 3 of the gabapentin at 3 different times during the day, and for me, I am, the pain is lessened by naproxen, one of those 3 times a day. I tried to quit it for a while, but then I kind of found myself struggling with becoming irritable, and I felt like it was because the pain level that I was trying to bury was affecting me. So I went back on it, but I anticipate going off of all that stuff, and it gets better. I got to meet, like I said, this amputee liaison, and he has very little pain. The one that told me not to sell my motorcycle. And then he motorcycle races, and I'm going to travel to Michigan to watch him race in July. And then I'm going to travel to the raceway in Birmingham, Alabama. That's also a motorcycle museum. And my grandson just texted me. He's wanting to see this already.
Oh,
But to watch him race down there as well. And then I'm using him to help me pick. I want to get an adventure bike. When I went through South Dakota on my motorcycle back in the early 80s, it was like 110 through the Black Hills, and the O-rings on my chain drive melted and flew all over me and my motorcycle. And so after that, I decided to ride through the rest of South Dakota after dark.
oh.
When it wasn't so hot, because I would, during the day, I had a heavy flannel shirt. I would soak it in water and then wear it until it dried out, and then repeat that in order to deal with your heat. But anyway,
well, I would like to offer you honorary membership into Dr. Saunders' monthly Dial-A-Doc, and I'm going to pay for it myself.
Oh,
you don't have to worry about.
I was kidding about the free T-shirt.
No. Like, and yeah, no, we need the T-shirt size too. So
I wasn't kidding about the autograph by Leslie though.
Hey, I can do that. I can do that.
Her writing's a little sloppy, but if you can maybe.
And Leslie, you mentioned, I think it was last week, that you had started exercising 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I could, that episode, I could tell just with your headshot that something had changed.
Really? Oh, that's good.
So
I'm
it's
glad you're
working.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Not that you needed anything.
Yeah, I noticed an extra glow as well, but,
Yeah.
and her husband, so we're here. Tyler, say hello. This is Chris.
I,
Oh,
Hi,
don't,
Tyler.
wait, we can't let these two talk. This will have to be a separate chat because
Get over here, Tyler.
if you want to talk about hunting and fishing, my husband
Oh,
will,
boy.
he's heading to Florida to do some saltwater fishing here next month.
Better send our son with
Uh,
me.
next-
He hunts,
next
We
week.
does all the
shark
things.
fishing with this guy in
I
Florida.
will be there in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
Jill and I will be on the next flight out.
yeah, we'll
Sounds
bring
good.
our boys with us.
Yeah.
You bring your grandsons, we'll have a big old
That would be
shark
fun.
fishing party or something.
Sounds good. Yeah, well, I'll try to
Joe,
document
beard,
some of that
Joe.
and send you some pictures.
All right.
Yes, do.
Please
Keep
do
in
that.
touch. We'll see you on the webinars, of course, but feel free to email or, for real, I think we do need your t-shirt size though,
Yeah.
for real. So make sure you let Joe or
I'm
I know
down
that.
down to an extra large.
All
Nice,
right.
all right.
I can handle that.
Yeah.
Hey, we also have a guy on our team, Nick Thomas, that lives like an hour away from you.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm gonna see if he can come down and maybe have a salad lunch or something with you. But I felt like when you were talking, like you guys need to meet. So he's an awesome guy. He's got four girls. Like what, 2 or 3 of them are teenagers?
I think he's
now?
an
Yeah.
adventure seeker like you though.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
he has 4 girls, so that's kind of fun.
He's like, he's
Sounds
our-
good. We have 5 daughters.
You'll find
Oh, wow.
dollars.
yeah, you guys need to meet. So I'm gonna.
Sounds good. Yeah. Whatever. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you
Okay.
so much again. We so
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.